Rated T for teen.
Hey everyone, it's the best in the world, CM Punk, back to shake up WWE 2K26. This year, the show never stops. You're running the greatest spectacle on earth with the biggest roster we've ever had. Over 400 superstars and legends from every era. Stack the tables, break the rules, burn it all down. And yeah, my very own showcase, telling my story the way it should have been told. Because when the show never stops, anything is possible. Available March 13th, pre-order now.
You've been there, settling in for an evening of TV only to waste half the night scrolling. Enter Fire TV, entertainment with zero effort required. Fire TV serves up personalized recommendations from across all your apps. Not sure what to watch? Just tell Alexa Plus what you're in the mood for and she'll pull up the perfect recommendation. Problem solved. Stop the scroll, start the show. Find what you're looking for with Fire TV. Subscriptions may be required.
The Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And we're back in the Stone Zone. Anytime you're listening to the Roger Stone Zone, you got to be in the zone. And we're in the zone today. Rod Martin now is our next guest. Now, we're ready for Rod. Rod is one of my favorite thinkers. And he's going to be joining us to talk about the Straits of Hormuz. If Donald Trump posting this right now, and that is the question of the Straits of Hormuz, he says, if Iran is not fully open without threat, the Straits of Hormuz would 48 hours from this exact point in time, the U.S. will hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest of the first. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That was Theodore Roosevelt and Rod Martin, who publishes a lively Substack and also publishes the Rod Martin Report. You can find him at rodmartin.org. One of my favorite entrepreneurs, thinkers, businessmen, capitalists, but a shrewd geopolitical thinker as well, joins us now.
It is great to be here.
Rod, you had a terrific piece here in which you took kind of a different look at the whole question of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the brutal Islamic regime has said from the beginning if we attack them that they would move to close down the strait through which much of the world's oil passes. Donald Trump kind of humiliated our many NATO allies, saying, well, we have to keep this open, who's with us? And, of course, they got a resounding silence from all of our NATO allies. But you took a different view here. Walk us through your view as to why Trump may, in fact, be in no hurry to reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, he's really not, because, there are military considerations, but there are also geopolitical considerations that extend far beyond Iran. So it's absolutely true. 20% of the world's oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz. That's a big deal. Some of that can be diverted. Even Iran is seeking to divert some of it to its much smaller port with a too small pipeline that's on the Gulf of Oman. So that actually bypasses the strait, and we're going to pretty much interdict that. But Saudi Arabia can transfer between 5 and 7 million barrels a day to the Red Sea through its east-west pipeline and away from the port at Ras Tanura. So, and then what Scott Bessent announced yesterday about using the Iranian oil that's already in tankers on the oceans to alleviate supply problems, temporarily desanction Russian oil, 400 million barrels released from various strategic petroleum reserves. All of these things contribute to a short-term price mitigation compared to what would happen. So what does that allow the president to do? Well, first and foremost, it chokes off Iran's ability to pay for a continued war. And you see that playing out every single day. We are down to a tiny fraction of the number of missile launches that we had been seeing at the very outset of the war. And it's not just that we're taking out the missiles. It's not just that they're blowing up the missiles that they're able to get through. It's that we've destroyed the plants in which they build them. So every missile they fire is one less that they will ever have. And that's a really, really big deal. So we are finishing the job in Iran. And second, for the last week, we have been doing a tremendous job in conjunction with the Israelis of using drone strikes to target individual members of the IRGC who are doing crowd control. You know, if you come out in the streets and protest, they want to shoot you dead. And it's a little hard to do that if a drone has already killed you. So we are getting to the point where there can be a critical mass where the people can rise up and take back their country. But the third thing is about our allies. You will notice the allies did not step up to protect their oil supplies. The oil from the Persian Gulf that flows to friends of the United States is significant, whether you're talking about Japan or Korea or Taiwan or Australia or NATO. Almost none of it comes to the United States, and 100% of it that does come to the United States is replaceable. This is not 1973. So the president invites them to participate. They demur. Okay, we don't need them. So we go and prove that we don't need them in this magnificent campaign we've been conducting for the last 3 weeks. And then the president says, hey, we want to keep the straits open for your oil to flow. Just send some frigates and some minesweepers. We don't want you in combat. We're not asking you to put yourself in harm's way. We're just asking you to escort some tankers and do some minesweeping with us. And they still say no. Now, they will not even protect their own oil. So what Donald Trump has done here is he has demonstrated just exactly how weak NATO is. He said a few weeks ago, America will be there for Europe. I don't know if Europe will be there for us. He just proved that Europe won't even be there for Europe. Finally, the crisis in the Strait has provided an opportunity to decouple from Lloyd's of London and the other maritime insurers in the city of London. And this is a hammer that you can tell by the lead up to this. Donald Trump and Scott Bessent have been planning for a year. They have set us up with the U.S. Development Finance Corporation to be able to intervene and basically take away the last remnant of British imperial power, which is their almost complete control of maritime shipping through maritime insurance. That is a huge wealth transfer from the City of London to the United States, and if Starmer doesn't want it to happen, he better get with the program, or Donald Trump will close the trap.
It's very, very hard to recognize modern-day Britain. The so-called special relationship is nothing special about it. There are fundamental foundational documents regarding liberty and freedom, and important matters such as free speech are based on theirs, the Magna Carta, but free speech is dead in the UK, where children literally can be arrested if they post something online that the regime disagrees with, and one is not allowed to criticize radical Islam in any way, shape, or form. Most people would not believe that. They do not step up in the Strait of Hormuz. They even restrict U.S. access to our own base, Diego Garcia. Starmer is really just extraordinarily weak. The Germans are not much better. They all talk, but very little real support from our so-called partners.
Well, I saw something recently that suggested that Keir Starmer's socialist government in Britain has actually arrested 10 times as many people as Putin's Russia has for free speech issues, 10 times as many in Britain, and that's in just a very short amount of time. It flummoxes me. I did a fellowship at Cambridge. I lived over there for the better part of 2 years. Absolutely loved it. I was the political officer for the Cambridge University Conservative Association, so we were organizing students to go help in parliamentary by-elections all over the island, right at the end of Mrs. Thatcher's time. I love England, and to see what has become of it just breaks my heart.
I've spoken at the prestigious Oxford Political Union, and that was a great opportunity. I also spoke at a number of other political unions there, and of course my tailor, no longer on Savile Row, but certainly Savile Row style, Anderson and Shepard, who made suits for Fred Astaire and the Duke of Windsor, Gary Cooper, and Jack Buchanan and others, and of course C.J. Cleverly, I think the best custom shoemaker in the country. That old England, I fear, is gone, where you literally have a horrific problem with hordes of illegal, or perhaps, I guess in this case, legal immigrants assaulting women, creating crime throughout the country. Yet if you criticize them or if you resist them, you will be the one who's arrested, not them.
Yes, exactly that. And it's just absolutely a repudiation of the entire history of English common law, of English rights. The American Revolution, more than anything else, was an assertion by the English people of this continent of their rights obtained 100 years earlier in the English Bill of Rights. And we have seen England evolve in the direction of freedom for most of the time since. Obviously, they didn't treat us that well at the end of the 18th century, but that got better too. And now we're seeing it all disappear. It's almost as though they've elected Henry VIII, and we're back to the Star Chamber. And it's just a horrifying thing. They must have a general election. They must get rid of this ridiculous, evil socialist regime. These guys got in on about 32% of the vote because the Tories truly betrayed their mandate and ended up abandoned at the ballot box, and Starmer wins by default. But there's a real opportunity, I think, for change. I'm very encouraged by what I see with Nigel Farage's Reform UK. I see other things stirring over there that are really positive. I think there's hope if they can just last long enough.
Yeah, I think it is important to recognize that in both Canada and the UK, the old Tory party, the Conservative Party, is not at all conservative. It is largely a globalist and a neocon party that is identical to Labour in its policies. That is true in both countries. The action is in the independent nationalist party of Farage and others, and that is most definitely an issue. But it is extraordinary to see kind of the cradle of democracy and free speech be destroyed. So Tommy Robinson, independent journalist who's faced jail numerous times because he's had the courage to criticize radical Islam in his home country, interviewed me recently, and the situation there is sad. I turned down an opportunity to return to the Oxford Union for security reasons. It is a political correct society where I could most certainly not count on the protection of the local or the federal police if I chose to speak. So unfortunately, even though I probably owe my tailor money, I won't be seeing him this month or any time soon. So you take the view, Rod, that these short-term increase in energy prices, you think this will be a temporary aberration? And do you think things will return in time to positively affect the 2026 election?
I do. I think, first of all, this war is going to be quite short. And, to hear some of the media people go on about how it's a quagmire and a forever war is just absurd. It's been going on for 3 weeks. I mean, what do you want, guys? This is ridiculous. But I think it ends pretty quickly. I think it ends in a bang, not a whimper. I think the regime ultimately does fall. I think there's an opening for a free Iran, which in 15 to 20 years' time max would be a first world country. It's just incredibly rich in resources and in educated entrepreneurial people who can make it a showplace for the entire region, a beacon of hope for everybody over there. I really believe that can happen. But whether it does or whether it doesn't, an Iran that is, an Iranian regime that is defeated means that we really have a chance going forward, one way or another, to bring Iranian oil and gas production back online in a serious, unsanctioned way. That will do wonders for the price of oil. The other piece of that is that we have been paying a risk premium for oil from the Persian Gulf virtually my whole lifetime. Ever since 79, there's been a risk premium built into the price that everybody's kind of lost track of, based on the decent chance that Iran could at any time mine the Strait of Hormuz. Well, that's going to go away. And so I wouldn't be surprised if you see another $10 or $15 a barrel drop just based on that. Now you're talking about $50 oil. And, the frackers will have to adjust a little bit in the Permian and the Bakken, but they're going to survive and thrive. And what we just showed in this conflict is that if you're not importing your oil and gas from America, your supply is vulnerable. And Donald Trump is going to lock in a bunch more energy deals.
He gets a total of $50,000, 20 and 30. Pardon me. I apologize. I was writing a note here to my wife. So I agree with you. I think Trump is playing this extraordinarily well. We are talking, of course, to Rod Martin. You can find him at rodmartin.org, and we'll be right back with more of Rod Martin.
TaxAct can think of a million things more fun than filing taxes. TaxAct is going to name some now. Sitting in traffic. Folding a fitted bedsheet. Listening to your coworker talk about his fantasy team. Digging a hole. Digging an even larger hole next to that original hole. Unfortunately, TaxAct's filing software can't make taxes fun. But TaxAct can help you get them done. TaxAct. Let's get them over with.
Spring is here, and the shopping list is long. Time to make a Lowe's run. Buy 3 bags, get 3 free of Stay Green 1 cubic foot garden soil. Plus, right now, members can earn 4 times the points on an eligible purchase. Start spring off strong with these deals and more. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 3/25 while supplies last. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. See Lowe's.com/terms for details. Subject to change. Point boosters subject to exclusions and more terms apply. One-time only offer.
This episode is brought to you by Welch's Fruit Snacks. Big news for your kids' lunchbox. Welch's Fruit Snacks are now made without any artificial dyes. A snack parents can feel good about, and the same delicious taste kids can't get enough of. All made with no artificial dyes. Try Welch's Fruit Snacks today.
Eczema is unpredictable, but you can flare less with Ebglyss, a once-monthly treatment for moderate to severe eczema. After an initial 4-month or longer dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
We're back with my good friend Rod Martin. He is an entrepreneur, a thinker. Blaze TV once deemed him one of America's leading public intellectuals. He is a solid conservative investor, businessman, had great success in internet, biotech, aerosphere, and energy. But he also sees things from, as I do, as a political animal. He once worked for Governor Mike Huckabee and worked for one of the greatest members of Congress, J.P. Hammerschmidt, longtime Republican member from Arkansas. Rod, you've written and spoken quite a bit about how Donald Trump is more like Ronald Reagan than he is like George Bush. Tell us about that.
Well, he's very little like George Bush. and tremendously like Reagan. And it's quite extraordinary because based on his communication style, you wouldn't get that. You know, they seem like very different people. But Ronald Reagan understood that the best use of American power was short, sharp bursts, and then arming and supporting allies to do their own lifting in their different theaters. So we didn't invade Nicaragua. We supported the Contras. We didn't invade Angola. We supported UNITA. And we took the battle to the enemy in a way that collapsed their ability to focus on us. At the same time, we deprived them of the hard currency necessary to keep up in an arms race that Reagan initiated and carried out with zeal and delight. And Donald Trump is doing this exact same thing to China. China is increasingly boxed in. It is being shorn of its allies. It is losing its steeply discounted sanctioned oil that's helping prop up its teetering economy. And increasingly, it just has nowhere to go. So my guess is what we'll see is Trump working out a trade deal with them that they really can't refuse and that boxes them in a key way where it just costs too much to go to war. And as a result of that, the regime is going to face the same problem the Soviet regime did. It will collapse in time of its own weight. That's exactly what happened in Russia. That's what's going to happen in China, and the architect is Donald Trump. The use of oil here strategically, cutting off the oil for Cuba, for example. Although I know Mexico rushing to the short-term rescue, denying the Chinese oil, which puts them in no position to move on Taiwan. This is peace through strength. This is the projected, limited, yet extraordinary lethal use of American power, but it's also the combination of military power, economic pressure and power, and of course, political pressure. Trump really is a master at this. It is a return to the peace through strength policies of Dwight Eisenhower and I think Ronald Reagan, rather than the foreign adventurism, regime change oriented new world order policy of the Bushes and sadly the Democrats who preceded him and succeeded them. I want to thank our guest, Rod Martin. Go to rodmartin.org or go to the Martin Report on Substack if you want to be ahead of the curve. He is a brilliant analyst of the body politic, American business, and particularly strong on foreign policy trends. Strongly recommend that you catch up with him and subscribe. I find it must reading every single day. Rod, thanks for joining us so much today in the Stone Zone, right here on The Roger Stone Show.
Thanks for listening to The Roger Stone Show. You can hear The Roger Stone Show Sunday afternoons at 3. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Visit Blinds.com now for up to 45% off with minimum purchase plus a professional measure at no cost. Rules and restrictions apply.